In the last couple of videos, we have talked about how to evaluate conditional branches using if-else and switch statements. Now, start from this video, we're going to learn about loops. Loops are basically a piece of code that can be executed over and over again. And in Java, there are multiple ways to structure a loop. In this video, we're going to focus on the first structure, which is the for loop. So let's create a new project first. Same thing as before, and I'll call this for loop. Finish. Okay. So first, let me show you the syntax of a for loop. Since it's called for loop, it will start with the keyword for, like this, okay, and then followed by a pair of parentheses, and then followed by a pair of curly braces. And inside of the parentheses, there are a couple things that we need to write. The first is a initialization statement, and then separate by a semicolon. The second is a Boolean condition, and then another semicolon, followed by a iteration expression. Okay, and then inside of the curly braces, it's the code to run you want to loop through. Okay, so this is a complete structure of a for loop. Now let's take a look at an example and see how to use for loop and what these three statements are used for. So say I want to print out number 0 through 9. Okay, I want to print out 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the problem is this. Print out number 0 to 9. Okay? And I'm going to use for loop. So let's start with for, and then parentheses, curly braces, and then our initialization is integer x, start from 0, and then semicolon. So for now, I'm just typing out the program. You guys should just follow along. If you don't understand, it's okay. I will explain everything after I finish typing this program. Okay? So x is less than 10. The last is our iteration expression, which I want x to increment every time it loops. Okay? And inside of curly braces is the code that we want to run in the loop. So we want to output x, right? Println x. So first, let's run this program and see the output. Okay. Let it build. Now there we go. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that's what we want. Okay. Now, let me explain step by step what is going on inside of this for loop. So, whenever our program sees a for loop, what is happening inside is like this. So, let's write it step by step. Step 1, initialization. Alright? And step 2, what it's gonna do, it's gonna evaluate the Boolean condition. In our case, it is if x is less than 10 or not. Okay. Evaluate Boolean condition. If true, run code in the curly brace. Right? If not, if false, skip the loop. Right? If the condition is false, right, it won't run the loop at all. We'll skip the whole loop and run the code below the loop. Okay? And then step 3, after running the code in the curly braces, and it will execute the iteration expression. Okay, so after it prints out x, right, it will do the iteration expression. In our case, is x plus plus, which means increment x by 1. So x is now becomes 1. Right? Now step 4, which is go back to step 2 again. Okay, so now x becomes 1, and we go back to step 2, which will evaluate Boolean condition again. We'll see if x is still less than 10, which is true, right? And what we will do is we will print out the new x, which is 1, right? And then we will increment x again, x becomes 2, and we'll still go back to step 2, evaluate. 2 is still less than 10, which is also true. And then we will print out the new x. So this is how we structure a loop using for statement. Now let's practice one more problem. So this time I want to print out numbers 0 to 9, but in reverse order, which is 9 to 0. Okay, so here's our new problem. Print out 9 to 0. Okay, so let's rewrite our for loop. First, let's comment this out, and then write our new for loop down here. So for, and then parentheses, and then curly braces. So first is our initialization, right? Since we want 9 to 0, let's initialize our x, right, to become 9, right? And then the Boolean condition we want to evaluate should be if x is less than, x is greater than this time, since we want to decrement x every time. So as long as it's greater than -1, right, we want it to keep looping, right? So this time we want decrement x, so x minus minus, and just system dot out the println x. Let's see if it's correct. There we go. That's exactly what we wanted. So this is how for loop works in Java, and in the next video we're going to talk about another way to make loops.